Maru says districts and provinces must shift focus. Lands Board to meet in all provinces. And meet Edith Babul, the guava lady of Munum.
This is the National EMTV News with Maru.
A very good evening. This is Monday's news. Thank you for joining us. National Planning Minister Richard Maru says districts and provinces must shift their focus and align service delivery that will generate internal revenue. Minister Maru expressed this during the Consultative Forum for Southern Region, which began today outside Port Moresby. He says the forum hopes to guide policymakers grasp opinions from districts and provincial governments to achieve an inclusive development framework for all levels of government.
Speaking to participants this morning, the Planning Minister was vocal in establishing a concrete foundation for an inclusive development plan. He says provinces must not wait for authorities in Waigani but create the necessary development projects that can improve levels of service delivery and support its internal revenue.
Our mindset must shift. No more Waigani. Talk about yourselves. And what must the national government do to help you grow your internal revenue? To grow jobs in your province, to unleash your potential, to get the most out of the resources that are being exploited in your provinces.
This is the second consultative forum facilitated by the National Planning Department, CIMC and other stakeholders. Participants attending the two-day forum are from Western, Milne Bay, Gulf and Central provinces. Planning's Deputy Secretary Policy, Joe Kappa, says the forum provides that opportunity to link district and provincial plans to the national plan.
So the purpose is to ensure that all the provinces are consulted and also to gauge their views in. And at the same time, we are telling them that they have to align their plans so that the agendas of the government must be captured.
With the third medium-term development plan yet in its infancy, Secretary Kappa hopes a shift in policy framework will deliver impacts in the next 5 years.
So we have to shift our focus from current service delivery agendas into actually us looking at the revenue generating aspect, so that we must have the means to spend. We must generate our revenue bases, revenue sources domestically.
Despite economic hiccups, Secretary Kappa says Papua New Guinea has the opportunity to create an economic base through the agriculture sector. He says the focus is now on domestic revenue generation,
so that we invest more countries, provinces that have those potentials. They have to look on utilizing those potentials so that we increase revenue, generate revenue, increase our exports, reduce our imports, so that we are then able to address many of the challenges that we currently face as a nation.
Medang will host the next consultative forum for the Mamose region, while Kokopo will play host to the New Guinea Islands Forum. Jack Lepave Jr., National EMTV News.
The country's competition laws are now being tested, with a case by the country's competition watchdog set to go to trial. The PNG Independent Consumer Competition Commission had initiated a case against Steamships Trading Company and others over what it viewed as anti-competitive actions following the acquisition of shares in Consort Shipping. Although the ICCC filed court proceedings in 2011, it was not until the 27th of March this year that the court handed down a decision to allow the matter to proceed to trial, marking the first time the ICCC Act will be tested in court.
Consumers are paying a lot because eventually...
ICCC Commissioner and CEO Paulus Ain today made known the progress of a court proceeding initiated by the ICCC over an acquisition within the coastal shipping industry. According to Mr. Ain, in 2009, the actions taken by a major shipping line to acquire majority shares in a competing shipping company had been anti-competitive, with shipping users in the country now paying more for freight within the country when compared to international shipping rates.
As we all know, one of the key drivers of our economy is the movement of cargoes between the ports, international and domestic. In our view, the international freight or shipment is cheaper, while the domestic part of it seems to be very expensive, and we've been closely monitoring this for some time. And we felt that the behavior in this market or in the coastal shipping area is, in our view, is not in compliance with the provisions of the ICCC Act.
As a result of the acquisition of shares in Consort Shipping by steamships, the ICCC commenced court proceedings in November 2011. These actions deemed appropriate to protect consumers from business acquisitions that may lessen competition.
The ICCC is now in court with steamship of certain behaviors in the coastal shipping industry that we feel that that's in principle or is not in compliance with the principles of the ICCC Act, especially Section 69 of the ICCC Act. And that, in our view, is not working in favor of the ICCC Act. And as a result, we have taken steamship to court.
According to the ICCC, the acquisition of shares in Consort by steamships through Mainport, which at the time was a subsidiary of steamships, was deemed to have had serious anti-competitive effects to consumers, especially in regards to shipping pricing.
Steamships acquired certain percentage of Kampang shares in Consort, and that's when the ICCC found out and thought that should raise some competition concerns. So we took this action, or the ICCC took that action to take steamships court to court and challenge that particular share acquisition.
With the case now to go to trial, it marks the first time the ICCC Act will be tested in a court of law. More specifically, Section 69 of the ICCC Act, which deals with business acquisitions.
If a person is found to have breached Section 69, the court can order up to 10 million kina penalty to be paid in court. So that's basically under the ICCC Act.
According to the ICCC, the developments and subsequent outcomes of this case will have a bearing on the ICCC on how it deals with matters of this nature in future. The APEC Second Senior Officials Meeting and related meetings began today in Port Moresby with the APEC Study Centre's Consortium Conference. The consortium, hosted by the PNG APEC Study Centre and PNG National Research Institute, convened to discuss how research and policy contribute to ensuring social and economic growth for APEC economies.
APEC study centers are institutions that foster research and academic discussions that support the broader APEC mission of regional economic integration. Each of the 21 member economies hosts centers building networks between the academic professionals of the region. Today there are more than 50 ASCs, and together they form the APEC Study Centers Consortium. The ASCC holds an annual conference, and this year Papua New Guinea's APEC Studies Centre, along with the PNG National Research Institute, is hosting the consortium conference. The annual conference provides an opportunity for academics and scholars from around the region to discuss their research and identify areas for collaboration. The Anjarari National EMTV News.
The Papua New Guinea Lands Board is expected to travel throughout the country to work with provincial governments to ensure outstanding land matters are dealt with. Lands and Physical Planning Minister Justin Chechenko appealed to all provincial governments to work with the Lands Department and the Lands Board to resolve many outstanding issues.
Minister Chechenko says Lands Board meetings in provinces are important as the board is the body that is responsible to approve many unsettled land issues.
For numerous years, many provinces throughout Papua New Guinea have never held a Lands Board meeting because of either political interference or the lack of ability to get their act together to actually hold a PNG Lands Board in their particular province.
After 15 years, East Sepik Province will be hosting its first Lands Board meeting next month. New Island Province is also on the list to host its Lands Board meeting as well.
In our budget, we have a limited budget, but with the funds that we do have, we're more than happy to partner with the provincial governments to help fund the PNG Lands Board, get into their province, sit down and resolve a lot of these outstanding issues that, believe me, are 10, 15 years old.
The cost to host the Lands Board meeting will be shared between the provincial governments and the Lands Department.
We are changing the way the Lands Department is moving forward for the benefit of our people and the benefit of their land. This hasn't happened for a long, long time, so we're upsetting a lot of people that are misusing and abusing the process. I'm up for it, but at the end of the day, we have to follow procedure and we'll do it by the book, whether people like it or not.
Stacey Yallo, National EMTV News.
Settlers living within Medang's Bilia Mouse Road settlement discovered the body of a man in the early hours of this morning. Between 7 and 8 this morning, news of the dead body spread and people started gathering at the crime scene. Settlers living in the area say the man was attacked between Bilia Mouse Road settlement and the public tank. At the crime scene, his blood-stained clothes were left at the side of the road while his body was dragged a few meters away and dumped. Police were alerted and moved into the area to retrieve the body, whilst investigations have already commenced. Details are sketchy and police are yet to release an official statement on this incident. You're watching National EMTV News. It's time for our first break, but stay tuned. We have more of today's stories when we return. Welcome back to Monday's news. 1,000 solar lights were distributed amongst 8 elementary and primary schools in Kupiano district of Central Province. The distribution, a partnership between Solar Buddy and Kokoda Track Foundation, took place at Kupiano Primary School last week. This is in addition to 450 lights distributed last year, with another 1,000 that will be distributed next month. Solar Buddy believes it was probably the largest single point in time distribution of donated solar lights to children anywhere in the world.
Children attending elementary and primary schools in the Kupiano district of Central Province can now complete their homework, study, and read after dark. Last week, Solar Buddy, through a partnership with Kokoda Track Foundation, distributed 1,000 solar lights amongst students of 8 primary and elementary schools. KTF CEO Dr. Genevieve Nelson encouraged the students, saying education is vital for a prosperous nation.
Because we know that education is the key to Papua New Guinea's future, isn't it? And education is what allows us to go on and do wonderful things.
Solar Buddy is an Australian charity that delivers innovative education programs to schools and businesses in Australia, teaching them about energy poverty. Solar Buddy CEO Simon Doble told the students that education exercises and strengthens the strongest part of the body, which is the brain.
For an athlete, as well as any other person on the planet, is their brain, okay? And education is the way of making your brain stronger. So what we're going to do today is give you lights, so you can, when you go home, you can do your homework and you can read, and you can do all the studying that your teachers give you to make your brain strong, okay?
He then explained how the students must use the light.
A lot of people put their hands up saying they wanted to work for mining companies, yeah? Mining companies are good, it's okay, but renewable energy companies are better, all right? Because they don't pollute the world, all right? So the sun is so powerful that if we can create energy from the sun, then we can light the world, okay? So when these lights don't work, you literally just put them out in the sun and they will charge up again and then they will work again at night, okay? They will not work during the day.
Each student got a free solar light. KTF and Solar Buddy will distribute another 1,000 lights next month. Lilian Sopera-Kenea, National EMTV News.
Last Friday, Medang Senior Provincial Magistrate Josephine Kilage ordered the release of detainees locked up at the Jamba police station. Because the accused were not being brought to court, the magistrate had summoned police to inform the court as to why the accused were not brought to court. Magistrate Kilage noted various administrative and logistic reasons by police and has also noted that detainees have not been fed. Kilage said the inaction to bring the detainees to court to be arraigned or to take plea without delay and also not feed the prisoners is a breach of their constitutional rights.
Senior Provincial Magistrate Josephine Kilage said the law is clear that those arrested and detained must be brought before the court without delay. This means that if a person is arrested, he or she must be brought to the court the next working day. Adding administrative issues given by police are not accepted as reasons for the delay. Magistrate Kilage said there are many people in police custody who have not been brought to court within the next working day. Some were brought to court a week or a month after the initial arrest, adding this is unlawful detention. Thus, the magistrate had directed as a visiting justice the immediate release of all persons detained for more than 1 day or who have yet to appear in court. The magistrate had also directed that all matters be struck out and they be released from custody forthwith. The only exceptions are those who have adjourned matters and have warrants of remand issued, and ensure that they are brought to beyond CS as soon as possible. Furthermore, detainees are ordered to be brought to court from beyond CS or police lockup on the dates ordered by the court. Magistrate Kilage also wants police to ensure that there is fuel for the police prosecution van to transport defendants to and from court. Martha Louise, National EMTV News, Madang.
Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Emil Tamor has called for the media in Papua New Guinea to report more positive stories. Minister Tamor said the nation is at a critical stage of its development and less than positive news stories by the PNG media are not helping.
Was one of the main focus.
Minister Tamor said the tourism industry continues to suffer from a negative image, and it was unfortunate that much of the damaging publicity is driven internally by PNG media. He is concerned that the media is given prominence to negativity without understanding the impact it has on the international stage. He said PNG is constantly faced with the challenge of being tagged a high-risk country for international travelers to tour as a direct result. He agrees that stories of rape, murder, tribal fights and armed robberies need to be told, but not with the same prominence every day. Minister Tamor is strongly urging media houses to take responsibility and focus on driving positive news agendas that stimulate growth and investment for our country, not only in the tourism industry, but in all sectors. He said with PNG already engaged in hosting APAC meetings, it is vital that the positivity that defines us as proud Pacific Islanders and in the wider global community is projected. He noted that with dignitaries from 21 economies expected to arrive for the tourism ministers' meeting at the end of this month, the last thing the nation needs is to give APAC economies a reason to be concerned. Minister Tamor says his ministry and the Tourism Promotion Authority were in advanced stages of preparations to host the meeting. Melissa Goviro, National EMTV News.
Two more positive news now. In South Pacific Export Lager launched its Export Can Art Series 2018 competition today in Port Moresby to celebrate all things great about Papua New Guinea. The aim of the competition is to celebrate the unique and special forms of art from all over the country and showcasing it on 22 limited edition cans that will be launched in October. SP Brewery Marketing Manager Josh Wheeler says the idea behind the competition is to build a platform that inspires positivity and empowers Papua New Guineans to take pride and appreciate our culture and tradition. The competition is open to aspiring artists in all 22 provinces in the country.
2 million cans of SP Export Lager, that's about 83,000 cartons, will be produced, with each can showcasing intricate designs of indigenous art from each of the 22 provinces. Artists from around the country will compete to get their traditional designs branded on 22 limited cans of South Pacific SP Export Lager. SP Brewery Marketing Manager Josh Wheeler says the platform is provided for artists to not only pride in their work but also to expose their art.
It's all part of our new campaign on export, which is to celebrate the best of PNG, from our culture, our agriculture, our land, our people, and in this case our great Indigenous art and designs. And
he says while Export Lager is locally produced, SP Brewery is delighted to say that regardless of its status, it is culturally grounded to where it was born and brewed in PNG for more than 30 years. Josh says he is looking forward to seeing many entries from around the country.
Yeah, any artist in Papua New Guinea can apply. We encourage them, hopefully over 18s, apply for us because obviously we're an alcohol brand. But basically what they have to do is come to an SP office, pick up a registration form, or they can download it from the Export Facebook page. Basically fill in the registration form, submit their designs either via email or by dropping off at the brewery office here, and then we will obviously choose the best art to go on each of our cans. So we obviously want one artist from each province to feature on the cans, and each artist that is chosen will win 1,000 kina.
He says it is a fantastic platform to promote and take inspiration and pride from PNG's diverse cultures at a time when the eyes of the world will be upon Papua New Guinea with APEC.
It's just a really great opportunity to empower young Papua New Guineans to, take their art to not just the country but to the world as well at a time when APEC is coming and we'll have these cans in market when APEC's here. So it's a great way to showcase, the great art that we have in Papua New Guinea.
A total of 22,000 kina will be given away to 22 winning artists from each province. The competition, launched today, runs until the 8th of June. Names of winners will be announced at the end of the competition, where each winner will walk away with 1,000 kina. Godwin Eki, National MTV News.
Despite financial problems faced by schools around the country, the Lay Secondary School celebrated the opening of their new staff houses on the weekend. Principal Christopher Raymond said this was made possible through the hard work of parents helping the school by paying support fees. Member for Lay John Rosso also officiated at the opening of these new facilities.
The Lay Secondary School now has 4 new residential units for their teachers. The principal, Christopher Raymond, says they built these new houses through collecting fees from parents, which was endorsed by the Provincial Education Board.
If we can have good infrastructure, it can translate into better performance by our teacher and our student. And all in all, having the idea that I want my school to be performing very well.
During the opening over the weekend, Lay MP John Rosso commended the efforts of the school board and management. With the delays in funding and lesser amounts given, management and the support from parents was important.
Kudos goes to the board of management, the parents, the principal.
If you manage what little you have, then manage it wisely, then these are the results. Yes.
Schools around the country have been facing problems with the delays in tuition fee-free funding. 5 weeks ago, a primary school in Lay was closed down because of this. They are currently building makeshift classrooms for students to return to class. Mr. Raymond says the parents have been supportive, paying 300 kina for their children over the years.
But we have collected some money from our stakeholders, and the school and the management especially must be seen to be making use of the money that has been collected. And since our parents have been good to us, we must show to our parents who have always been supporting us that the money that they have been paying is put into good use. So
Lucy Kopana, National MTV News, Lay.
Over 20 years, she has become an expert on growing Indian guavas. Edith Bubble now has 9,000 trees on her farm at Munum, outside of Lay City. It all started in the 1990s when her son collected seeds from a discarded guava fruit that was left on a road.
It was on the small farm at Munum outside of Lay City that Edith Bubble began planting Indian guava trees. Unlike the local varieties, Indian guava trees produce large fruits. It is a fruit she likes very much, and the first 10 seedlings were grown from 100 seeds collected by her son more than 20 years ago from a guava fruit he found smashed along a roadside.
2 years old, I'm looking at him, I like him, so I'm being kiss him.
bin kisim na comeback na backside lo house bin neserim. So 100 seed bin kisimia come up. Okay tayo day na okay 10 plata soli bin come up. So 10 playa mi pla planim lare la house lo kai ta so. Mi pla been working first harvesting lo 2000 straight. Mi can think him this a first harvest guava na mi bin kisim this money. Mi been working ma 2 pla basket 1 pla bilim na 2 pla cotton.
At first, she didn't know much about growing the fruit. It began as a hobby. Then, when she was offered an opportunity to learn agriculture methods in Australia, she took it and brought back more knowledge.
Nari been picking me first Mary lo ba me go school lo Queensland University. Lo study ma agriculture so 2011 milisimo all beginning stavante papa blo na all work lo farm na same time all beginning school start na okay mo go start Australia. Na mi school, mi study agriculture, mi study binatang, mi study ground, na mi study environment in Australia.
Today, Edith is one of the few guava experts in Maru province. She has 9,000 trees on her farm. She's also studied the local insect behavioral patterns and she's developed her own methods of pest control. At the National Agriculture Research Institute's open day last week, she brought several baskets of her produce to the show. Within 2 days, several hundred fruits were sold out. She's also established supply contracts with the local supermarkets, not just for the guava but also for other vegetables as well. Today, the guava remains her main revenue earner. And it started from a fruit that was thrown away by someone 20 years ago. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Lae.
Here with National EMTV News this Monday, we take a look at stories making headlines overseas after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas now, Kim Jong-un has invited media from around the world to North Korea to watch him blow up his northern nuclear test sites. The foreign ministry announced North Korea would collapse all tunnels with an explosion in less than 2 weeks after handing back 3 prisoners to the United States. This is seen as the next step in preparations for Kim's meeting with US President Donald Trump in Singapore next month.
On state TV, North Korea committing to complete denuclearization. That was 2 weeks ago when, during a summit between the North and South Korean leaders, Kim Jong-un declared he would shut down his nuclear test site. And now he's set a date. The remote mountain Punggye-ri site will be dismantled in less than 2 weeks at a ceremony to which journalists from all over the world will be invited to watch. From this highly secretive state, it is the latest in a series of symbolic gestures designed to smooth the path to President Kim's much-anticipated meeting with President Trump next month. America has said it wants to see complete, verifiable and irreversible nuclear disarmament. But today's announcement made no mention of whether or not experts would be allowed to visit the site. Some scientists say they believe the testing facility has already collapsed. As North Korea's supreme leader prepares for his historic summit with President Trump, the world will be watching to see whether a country that has broken its promises in the past really intends to keep this one.
And President Trump has responded to North Korea's announcement in his usual manner, a tweet saying, "Thank you, a very smart and gracious gesture."
A horrific attack is emerging in India as yet another teenage girl was allegedly raped and set on fire. It is the third attack of its kind in less than 2 weeks.
This woman's daughter was allegedly raped and murdered a few days ago. The child had been locked in her own home. Her brother found her bound and gagged and aflame in this back room. She was 16. The third child allegedly burned and raped in India in a week. One died and another was hospitalized in almost identical alleged attacks in Jharkhand province, 800 miles away. But outrage over what some have called an epidemic of violent sex crimes first boiled over this year in January in Jammu, 1,000 miles north. child was held here in the village temple dedicated to the Hindu god of Ram. She was held for several days. She was drugged, she was tortured, and she was raped by several men. And she was 8 years old. The child was a Muslim. Her body was found not far down this jungle track. The accused in this case have denied all of the allegations against them. But the victim lies buried here in an unmarked grave. To many, she's just yet another victim of a vicious sexual hate crime. But to others, she's a symbol of something more rotten in the body of India. Hindu-Muslim tensions over the death of the child mean some Muslims have been leaving the area.
There is a mob standing everywhere in India waiting for a signal to attack Muslims. They think we'll deal with the repercussions later. No one is held accountable.
Human rights groups are blaming the government and the ruling party.
I squarely hold the government of India responsible, the ruling party responsible for creating an Islamophobic and anti-Dalit climate that justifies acts of sexual violence and other forms of violence against these minorities.
India's government has scrambled to react to public outrage over the attacks on Muslims and Dalits, so-called untouchables. Minister, what efforts are the Indian government and its agencies working to try to put an end, which critics would say is an epidemic of sexual violence, an epidemic of rape?
There was a commotion in the country and we responded to that. And today we have changed the law by an ordinance. If under 12 years, you will be given death penalty. If it is a gang rape, you will be giving a death penalty. And your life imprisonment shall be for the whole of the life. What is important is, I must be very honest to you, we have to improve our conviction more. We have to fast track our investigation more. We have to sensitize the entire machinery of delivering justice to be more alarmed to this challenge.
In 2012, just under 25,000 women were reported raped in India. That figure, according to government statistics, jumped to about 40,000 in 2016, revealing perhaps the scale of a long-standing problem. Are you all from this town or nearby? This group of survivors and their families are from the small town of Bharatpur, 4 hours from Delhi. In almost every case, they allege the rapists were from higher castes, and that after reporting the assaults, they had been subjected to brutal intimidation to drop the charges.
1, 2, 3.
You have to be strong to survive an attack, brave to report it, and especially if you're untouchable. A knife was held to her throat by her high caste rapist. He was jailed after she got legal help here. She says that since the conviction, there have been attempts to destroy her house and her crops have been uprooted. Her husband and his brothers frequently abducted and beaten. They called me a whore, she says.
Here with National EMTV News, we have Trukai Sports coming your way next. Stay tuned for the details.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with Rugby League, and the Port Moresby South Rugby League competition is becoming an active suburban league competition in the city. Over the years, it has produced some exciting talent in the Intercity Cup competition, as well as a few players in the Hunters program. Shane Saroya with the details.
Moresby South Rugby League has been consistent with their regular season games. All the weekend games starts on Friday and continues on to Sunday afternoon.
We have 12 affiliated clubs this season. Normally, previous years we had about 16, 18, but due to maybe we started a bit late. So
the inclusion of the under-20 division in the mix has added flair and positive vibe to the existing men's and women's class.
We also run a nines tournament that comes before the season starts. Normally, JT nines. That's when we invite all outside who's interested to take part. They come in.
An affiliate of the PNG Rugby Football League, PNG RFL, the association takes pride in some of its top players competing in the top domestic league competition, the Intercity Cup, as well as the Hunters program.
A lot of players from here now, few of them, I think 2 are in the Hunters now. And then a couple of them with the intercity players teams now.
Match coordinator Kelsey Vai said the competition is also supported by local MP Justin Tachanko and believes the league offers a healthy pathway for the young aspiring players to filter through to higher level competitions such as the Intercity Cup.
All our listeners or viewers who are viewing this, just tell them the game here has improved in the way we are trying to change with time. We are going to develop the sport at this grassroots level down here.
Into its round 5 of the season, a maximum of 9 to 10 matches is played over the weekends, with the finals footy likely to be staged in September. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
The SPPNG Hunters secured their first win away yesterday against Munum Manly Seagulls. The Hunters defeated the Seagulls 18 points to 16 at BMD Calgary Oval in Brisbane. This is the Hunters' third win this season, which sees them move from 13th to 12th place on the Queensland Intra-Super Cup ladder. To squash now, in Papua New Guinea's #1 male squash player, Madako Suwari Jr. is preparing for the upcoming 2019 Pacific Games. Madako claimed silver in the previous games and is hoping to better that next year in Samoa.
Madako Suwari Jr. attended his second Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast, Australia last month. Suwari says it was a good experience but thinks he could have done better. His preparations to the Commonwealth Games were difficult, being left without a coach in Port Moresby.
I didn't have enough preparation with a coach because back here I'm just I don't have a coach on ground in Port Moresby to help me train and prepare for big events like that. So whatever I did, I just played to the best of what I trained with, and I was happy with my performance.
With about 13 months left before the Pacific Games in Samoa, Suwari says he will be undergoing intense training.
Just trying to get back up to my fitness and get better at certain shots, and just a bit more focused now on trying to do better than the last Pacific Games.
Training towards the Pacific Games will be similar to the 2015 Games. PNG national coach Mark Foster, who is based in Cairns, has played an essential role in Suwari's performance over the past 4 years.
He actually helped me improve a lot more. So he's a very professional coach. A lot of people he's coached have become professional players in the world, and he's got a lot of experience behind him. Almost 30 years of coaching, and he boosts us, or gives that morale for us to keep pressing on and training to become better at it.
Though it will be a tough task, Suwari is hoping to better his performance in Samoa.
I won't say, but I'm aiming to at least do well, hopefully win a medal at the Games.
Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
Over the past 2 weeks, secondary schools in Lae have been hosting sport carnivals for its students. Bumayong Secondary School held theirs last week for the first time after almost 10 years. The idea was initiated by the school administration to unite students by involving them in sport. Bumayong Secondary School Principal Saya Daniel said the aim is to help motivate students and create a healthy relationship between teachers and students. The event was held on Thursday and Friday last week, with students who participated saying the idea of sports is a positive approach for unity for schools in Lae Morabel Province. We go for a break now. True Kai Sports continues with more after these messages.
True Kai Sports.
Welcome back to True Kai Sports. To football now, and New Zealand's Team Wellington has defeated Fiji's Lautoka FC 6-0 in the OFC Champions League first leg in Wellington, New Zealand. Team Wellington has now put themselves in good stead heading into the final showdown with Lautoka in Fiji next weekend.
The hosting duties for the OFC Champions.
After beating runners-up for 3 consecutive years, New Zealand's Team Wellington were the clear favourites heading into the match.
Team Wellington are pushing Lautoka back an awful long way.
It took the men from New Zealand just 16 minutes to find their feet, with an opening goal from Roy Kayara.
It's come off Ross Allen, I think.
The Fijians were forced to defend their territory all throughout the first half. Starting the second half a goal behind, Lautoka were hoping to snatch the equaliser early on, but Wellington substitute Jack Henry says otherwise.
And it's a substitute who scores it.
Team Wellington instead came from the edge of the box from Mario Barcia.
Being left behind in their wake, it was a mistake by Savoki, but Jack
Things didn't get better for the Fijians. Lautoka's hero in the semi-final received the straight red card for a late sliding challenge from behind on New Caledonian Roy Kayara.
Have failed to cope with anything thrown at them, and
down to 10 men, Lautoka's defense soon fell apart. After a poor clearance from Vistas gifted Sinclair a brace with a brilliant side foot chip off the keeper.
From the referee, it's popped to the far post.
The gun from defender Tyler Chives sealed Team Wellington's account for the first leg with an 84th minute header, neatly placed behind Matinakara and his near post. Team Wellington will now travel to Lautoka, Fiji, for the second leg of the OFC Champions League final on Sunday, 28th May at Churchill Park from 2 p.m. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
To Rugby Sevens, and the Black Ferns have knocked off another major mark in world rugby. The side has continued its recent domination over Australia, defeating them by a record score in the latest showdown on the world circuit, but it is enough to claim in another series title.
The Ferns were hot favourites to beat the Aussies in today's final in the fourth leg of the series on Vancouver Island. But unlike their last two meetings, this wasn't close.
And the master finisher, Portia Woodman.
Having set up the first try, Ruby Tui marked her return from the mumps, which ruled her out of the Commonwealth Games by going solo for the second. Portia Woodman had a double by half-time, taking her career haul to a staggering 178 tries.
I think if you hold on to the ball, you're going to score more tries. So I think that was our biggest thing going into this final.
The equally impressive Niall Williams grabbed her own brace.
Second, it's all too easy for New Zealand.
The quick thinking and very direct approach of skipper Sarah Goss bamboozled the Aussies. And Kelly Brazier's double made it 4 tries in each half, 46-0, as they retained their Canadian trophy.
Obviously been on the road for a long time, so really stoked with the result and happy to be heading back for some recovery.
The runaway victory has cut Australia's series lead to 4 points, leaving the Kiwis to rue their slow start to the competition, which has left them still needing other results to go their way in next month's final leg in Paris.
If we were to knock them off the top, we'd have to obviously win, and then they would have to fall short of the final, I think, is what the maths does. But at the end of the day, I'm a rugby player, so I'll stick to playing the rugby.
They have 3 weeks to confirm those sums. Steve.
And very quickly to basketball, only LeBron James can take one of his worst ever NBA playoff performances and use it to prove he has one of the sharpest minds in basketball history.
Cleveland were trying to claw back a huge deficit in the fourth quarter today when Boston put the game out of reach with a flurry of points. When James was asked how it happened, he responded with this.
The first possession, we ran him down all the way to 2 on the shot clock. Marcus Morris missed a jump shot, followed it up. They got a dunk. We came back down. We ran a set for Jordan Clarkson. He came off and missed it. They rebounded it. We came back on the defensive end, and we got a stop. They took it out on the sideline. Jason Tatum took the ball out, threw it to Marcus Smart in the short corner. He made a 3. We come back down, missed another shot. Tatum came down and went 94 feet, did a Euro step, and made a right-hand layup timeout. There you go.
Wasn't wrong, was he? His performance on the court wasn't nearly as good, though, making just 5 from 16 shots with 7 turnovers. Boston winning Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, 108-83.
And that's a wrap for Trukai Sports this evening. We have for you the weather details when we come back. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Mostly fine for Alotau and Popondetta. A shower or 2 expected in Port Moresby, Daru and Kerma. To the Momasa region, mostly fine and a top of 32 for Vanimo, Wewak, Madang and Leh, 28 degrees. The top temperature for Wau tomorrow with mostly fine weather. To the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine in Lorengau, Kevang, Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka with a top of 31 degrees. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabi can expect fine weather over the next 24 hours. So look at the forecast for small ships, but first there is a strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Maru to Kiwai Island, to Kerma, Yule Island and to Hood Point, including the Coral Sea. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Maru to Kiwai Island, to Kerma, Yule Island to Hood Point, seas 2 to 3 meters. Waters of Hood Point to Samarai Island and with waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Island, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. And waters of Samarai Island to Cape Vogel to Finchafen, with waters of Finchafen through Vitias and Dampier Straits to Siasi Island to Long Island, and with waters of Long Island to Medang, Bogia, Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo and the northern PNG Indonesian border, and waters of Manus and its western group of islands, and waters of New Britain to New Island and Bougainville, sea 0.5 to 1.3 meters. And a look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. Coral Sea seas rather rough with southeasterly winds at 20 to 25 knots. Solomon Sea seas slight with southeasterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. Bismarck Sea seas slight with southeasterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. In the Pacific Ocean, seas slight with northeast to southeasterly winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And before we go, a recap of our top stories this evening. Planning Minister urges districts and provinces to generate internal revenue. Lands Board to travel and meet in all provinces to tie up loose ends. And a PNG woman farmer with 20 years of guava growing knowledge. And that's the news, sport and weather for today, Monday the 14th of May 2018. On behalf of the entire EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.